It's 8 a.m. here in Singapore and 8 p.m. in Washington, where President Biden has admitted people are upset and uncertain about a lot of things. It follows a surprise defeat for his Democratic Party in the race for governor of Virginia. In another strongly Democratic state, New Jersey, the sitting governor only narrowly won re-election. The shock results have boosted Republican hopes of winning back control of Congress in the midterm elections next year. Key parts of Mr. Biden's agenda are being held up by lawmakers, and the president says he's determined to push them through.
No governor in Virginia has ever won when he's of the same or he or she's the same party as the sitting president. What I do know is, that people want us to get things done. They want us to get things done. And that's why I'm continuing to push very hard for the Democratic Party to move along and pass my infrastructure bill and my Build Back Better bill.
Well, political commentator and Democratic strategist Amisha Cross explained what went wrong for the party in Virginia.
It appears so the Democrats lost several different demographics of votes. One, we know that the diverse voter turnout was not what it was in 2020, which isn't necessarily surprising. This is an off-election year. Diverse voters and larger numbers of voters always come out in presidential terms more than they do in election years where a president isn't at the top of the ticket. But the bigger issue was that the suburban voters, suburban white women who flipped against Donald Trump in 2020, voted heavily towards Youngkin in 2021. I think that the appeals to white suburban women, specifically around education, the lies around critical race theory, weaponizing race, talking in terms of culture wars, and really trying to elevate and escalate the issues around COVID-19 and the many stressors that particular demographics felt having their kids at home and trying to balance that and jobs at the same time. Kitchen table issues like the rising inflation and what that cost means at the gas pump, what that means in grocery stores. Those types of conversations weren't necessarily had as elevated by Democrats in the same way that it was by Glenn Youngkin on the conservative side. I think one of the bigger issues that Democrats had was nationalizing a race that was hyper-local. They were fighting against the ghost of Donald Trump, who was nowhere to be found on the ballot and isn't even on Twitter these days. And I think that it really hurt them.
So do you think should the Democrats be worried about the midterms?
Democrats should have been worried about the midterms, but not as much because of what happened in Virginia yesterday. I think that because historically speaking, when you have one party that holds the presidency, the House, and the Senate, when the midterms comes around, the pendulum always swings to the next party. That's something that has been happening in American politics for a very long time. I think that when it comes to the midterms, there's got to be a real push from Democrats to get out again that diverse voter base, that voter base that came out in 2020. It's going to be a hard thing to do because you also have to remember the wins were in the sails of the Democrats in 2020 because Donald Trump was an extremely unpopular president. But in addition to that, we had the backdrop of the George Floyd protests that got activists very vigilant and very activated and motivated to bring people out to vote. What we now know is that the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act did not pass. We know that voting rights bills have been passed. Restricted voting rights laws have been passed across the country by Republicans who want to keep minority voters away from the ballot. We know that we still haven't seen an infrastructure bill make it across and signed into law. We still have not seen the more robust social infrastructure bill, the Build Back Better package signed into law. There are a lot of things that Biden went across the country talking about specific to minority voters that they don't feel like they've seen from this administration quite yet. And I think that unless the ball gets rolling on those things within the next few months, it's going to be really hard for Democrats come midterms.
And for more on the significance of these elections and what it means for President Biden and the Democratic Party, just go to our website where you can find a piece by Anthony Zerker on the key takeaways for both sides of U.S. politics. That's all on the BBC website.